attorney Thomas Moskal joining us in the studio. We were just talking a little bit about Kyle Rittenhouse as far as the case goes, and him being, of course, found not guilty. But Kyle Rittenhouse is back in the news for a couple different reasons. Well, first of all, way it has it is he's driving in his home state with a friend of his. I shouldn't say he's driving. He's in the passenger seat. And officer pulls over his friend, my understanding, for speeding, going like maybe 10 or 15 miles over the speed limit. And the officer who pulls his friend over recognizes that it's Kyle Rittenhouse in the passenger seat. Instead of doing what any professional police officer would do, this police officer, who I think is a complete idiot, asked Kyle Rittenhouse to get out of the car, not because he's in trouble, but because he wants a selfie. The officer takes a selfie with Kyle Rittenhouse on the officer's phone. By the way, government property, paid for by your tax dollars. He posts that picture on social media. He gets a lot of flack for that picture, rightfully so. The department refuses to fire him or suspend him. The officer himself refuses to apologize. Now, if this was an everyday police officer that was off duty, I would say he has absolutely every right, if he sees Kyle Rittenhouse somewhere, to ask him for a picture, even though I would disagree with him, because the last person on the planet I would really want to take a picture with is Kyle Rittenhouse these days. But that's his opinion. And if he's off duty and he's not on the clock, I have no problem with him taking that picture. I disagree with it from a standpoint of I just don't like Kyle Rittenhouse, but I don't think it's unprofessional. He can do whatever he wants. It's his private time. He is on company time. He is on tax dollar time. I would even say this about a celebrity. Like if you pull over somebody and then the passenger is Shaquille O'Neal, it would be improper, I would think, to take a picture with Shaquille O'Neal as well. But this is worse. I wanted to know what your take was on this, because my take is I think this police officer maybe shouldn't be fired, but should absolutely be disciplined for doing something like this. And that police department refuses to do anything about it.
Well, I don't know if you mentioned it, but welcome to Texas. They're in Texas.
Yeah.
That's where Kyle Rittenhouse is going to community college down there. And look, I mean, are you surprised that Texas is having Kyle Rittenhouse's back on this? I mean, they're the most pro-gun state that we have in the union. So all the flack he's getting, I bet it's not flack that he's getting within his own local environment. It's more of the national environment, the national media, things like what we're doing today, who are doing it. But in his local environment, when he's going to work, they got his back on this. They're loving Kyle Rittenhouse because Rittenhouse has become the poster boy for gun rights.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot of people, the gun rights activists, want to back up everything that happened in Kenosha, taking your guns, we protect our own, that narrative. And can you say you're surprised in Texas that happened?
The answer is no, but I'm going to tell you, man, here's a guy who did this sign. We're not talking about the okay sign. Hey, everything is okie dokie. Everything's doing good. No. Kyle Rittenhouse, forget about even the shooting, okay? Kyle Rittenhouse was hanging out with a bunch of Proud Boy members at a bar. We have pictures of this. And in one of those pictures, one of those white supremacist Proud Boy members, because that's what most of them are, he's using what we know as the white power sign. When you have a police officer taking pictures with people like that, and you're supposed to be protecting and serving people, and during this era where we know the Black Lives Movement era, and some people think most police officers are racist, and you're taking pictures with people using the white power sign, what are you doing? Forget about the case. Forget about the policies of guns and forget about all that stuff. You're taking a picture. Would you take a picture with a Ku Klux Klan member? Oh, Brian, why are you comparing Kyle Rittenhouse to a Ku Klux Klan member? The guy is using white power signs, hanging out with a bunch of Proud Boy members while he's on trial, by the way. It doesn't get much worse than that. That is what I would call a white supremacist sympathizer. He is a white supremacist sympathizer. And as I'm looking at this, I am not making this up, ladies and gentlemen. This is the picture right here. This is a picture of Kyle Rittenhouse hanging out at a bar with a bunch of Proud Boy members, taking a picture using the white power symbol. And some of these right-wing idiots, oh, no, he was just saying everything's A-okay. No, I don't think so. If he was hanging out with a bunch of kindergartners, maybe I would think that. These are Proud Boy members who openly use the white power sign. And you have a white police officer that is taking a picture with this guy. Really bad look. Really bad look. And that is my problem with this. And that's why I hear what you're saying. And you're probably right, Thomas. It happened in Texas. I believe if this happened in the state of Nevada and Kyle Rittenhouse was seen somewhere and somebody took it, I do believe Metro would probably do something about it and reprimand the police officer for doing this. I just have a serious problem with this, man. I just think this is awful. It's terrible. And it sends a bad message. It sends the frame of mind, at least with that police officer, that he looks at Kyle Rittenhouse as some sort of hero. And I think you can connect the dots here. Is this the guy that you want
that's
being
why
a cop?
I say this whole incident is just a welcome to Texas. You're home now.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a little bit about these lawsuits now, because I think it's just absolutely ridiculous. Listen, I had a problem with the lawsuits if in regards to, remember the man of Indian descent who was singing music, and then you had that guy in his face. That kid,
actually, so Rittenhouse wants to file some defamation lawsuits,
Right.
and he has the exact same attorney, McMurtry, who represented the kid from the DC standoff, wearing the MAGA hat against the Native American.
Yeah,
I almost said Indian. You know, that would have been that's a big slip up. You know, nowadays.
Native American.
I was born in 1980. Everybody, so I'm trying. But they ended up getting some settlements out of that. You know, and so. The big thing that's spurring on the defamation lawsuits for Rittenhouse and McMurtry is salivating is that they're saying that the Johnny Depp verdict, Johnny Depp won his defamation suit.
Mm-hmm.
So this is opening the door to a lawsuit of this nature. And that's not the case.
Listen, for people out there that want to call him a white supremacist, I think that might be a stretch and might be going too far. Do I think that you should be?
Well, let me tell you, you basically insinuated that he's a white supremacist.
I think he's a white supremacist sympathizer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
just as I think Tucker Carlson
is. You're basically putting it out there. So let's do some legal analysis on this.
Sure.
If you could be on the hook for defamation. Well, number one, you're a media outlet.
Right.
Number two, Kyle Rittenhouse is now considered a public figure.
Right.
Even at the time of his trial when it was going on, it was a private person who is on a matter of public concern. Yep. I'm using these words because this is the legal analysis that gets put forth.
Yep.
As a private citizen, you have a lot more protection from people just putting stuff out there about you than you do as a public person. And you have more protection about your own private affairs than you do of something that is out there of a public concern like the murder trial was. So Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, this is all public people, but it's all private affairs that are going on. Mm-hmm. So here, as a media person, you basically would be protected right now of what happened from defamation because you actually showed and you talked about you're taking disclosed facts. There's a photograph out there that you saw that had a very racist hand gesture by him. And because of that, now you are going, I believe because of that, he is a white supremacist sympathizer.
Right.
You are protected at that point because you're not knowingly putting out something false about him.
Right.
And even if that is false, that he's not a white supremacist sympathizer, let's just assume that is false. You're not putting out something that you think is false. You're basing something off of facts that you've seen. So now when we take it to the Rittenhouse trial itself, everyone's seeing the video. So people can call him a killer. That's their opinion based on facts they've said, even though he got acquitted of that. That's why people can still call O.J. Simpson a killer. Even though he was acquitted of the murder, it's still on all the facts that have been disclosed.
Right.
Media people can still get up there and go, I believe he killed her. That's an opinion based on fact. And as a media person, you are allowed to put your opinions out there as long as you're not insinuating, like right now on the radio. If you insinuated that you had some private secret information that nobody else has, then you know without a doubt he's a white supremacist. Yeah. And that turns out to be false, and you actually don't have that information. That's the issue. So if a judge follows the law, Rittenhouse has no shot at a defamation verdict, but that's not what McMurtry's going for. He just wants to sue Facebook. He wants to sue Biden, these big pockets, and just get a little settlement out of the deal. Get some money in his pocket, put some money in Rittenhouse's pocket.
How much money do you think that other guy made in that other case that he took a couple of years back? How much do you think he got paid off?
How much the kid got paid or McMurtry?
Both.
Well, okay, all right. Look, there was a settlement from some entities, including the Washington Post.
Couldn't have been a lot.
Those are always private.
Yeah.
But look, there was a lot of work that went into it. So the attorney's going to say, hey, all my attorney's fees, I'll take a little haircut on what you're going to pay me in the settlement for my attorney's fees and the work I've done on it, but I still want to get mine. And that's how these companies kind of businesses have to go into settling, because they're going, man, I'm taking such a risk. If I don't win this completely at trial, I'm going to be on the hook for so much more attorney's fees. This thing can go 5, 6 years.
Do you think it was millions though? Because I don't think it was that much.
You know what? I have no idea.
And by the way, the idea that his life is ruined. I can't stand these people. First of all, Kyle Rittenhouse is a nobody. He would have been a nobody. He's obviously not very intelligent. Now he's somebody. He has made something because of this situation. So actually, it's the opposite. That kid in that other situation, I forgot what they called it, but where he's standing there with the man that was singing, his life is ruined. That is a bunch of baloney. It is nonsense. It's the opposite. Now
Talking
we
about Rittenhouse or the kid from
both
back then?
both.
I don't know, man. That kid from back then had a much stronger case because look, he was just over at Capitol Hill.
He wasn't de-escalating. He was standing there with a
it's not
smirk
about
on his
escalating and
face.
de-escalating.
What did he do? Well, I mean,
it's about he's just over there in a situation that's not even a public situation. Someone recorded it, they put it out, and all of a sudden it did affect his life. I mean, next thing you know, he's like world famous for a minute, and not for something good.
So for some media members,
but here, when you have a public case, then the whole media is covering it. Right. You have less protection, and people can comment on what's going on. That being said, you're going to look at everything that was said by all these media outlets, and there was so much there that McMurtry might be able to find some things that people said that were just completely out of bounds based on what the video showed or what opinions they could have. Some things, I'm sure some things were completely out of bounds that were said.
Listen,
and if
listen,
there might be.
Here's my problem with that. People every day say things that are out of bounds politically. They say things out of bounds when it comes to guns, when it comes to certain Democrats, certain Republicans. Not everybody is getting sued. The kid is just fine. He's going to college, I would imagine. He's actually a lot more popular in a good way now than he was before that situation. They were trying to make, he can't get a job. He can't do that. Is absolute nonsense.
His popularity goes both ways, right? There's people like the officer who wants to take a selfie with them, and there's people who would love nothing more than Kyle Rittenhouse to be off the face of the planet.
Yeah.
There's extremes on both sides. So, look, fame for him does cut both ways. But the media is allowed to comment on public issues, and they're allowed to insert their own opinions as long as it's based on facts that are disclosed. Now, I might have a different opinion than you on the issue. It's not defamation at that point.
Are they going to win against Facebook? I mean, what? I don't know.
The whole point is to settle. They don't want to go all the way. They want to make them work. They want to settle. They want to drag some of these Facebook executives into depositions.
Right.
Actually going to trial on something like that. Kyle Rittenhouse is not as sympathetic as a Johnny Depp on the stand. I mean, Johnny Depp, that was captivating. But again, the Johnny Depp situation was about their private affairs being aired out, not Johnny Depp did something publicly and a media outlet looked at surveillance as something Johnny Depp did publicly and commented on it.
Well, here's my thing, right? The attorney that's representing Kyle Rittenhouse to me is a scumbag, and here's why. He takes these right-wing cases, right? Tries to make some money off it. What about a black man or a black woman that wants his help? How many
has he never?
How many of those cases in the last several years has he taken? How about in a Black Lives Matter protest, a law enforcement roughing somebody up? Funny, because I don't hear these people taking these types of cases. The same attorney in Las Vegas right now who represented Justin Anders, who's now dead, by the way, taking all these right-wing cases. I think it's scummy. I think you should represent all people, not just people on the alt-right.
The only other case I know from McMurtry is the Capitol Hill case with the Native Americans.
But again, he makes these right-wing appearances and he represents those on the right. I don't see him representing cases of, say, minorities that are roughed up by law enforcement. I have a serious problem with that. Listen, I have the same criticism for Benjamin Crumb, as I like to call him Benjamin Crumbs, because he takes crumbs from the families that are grieving. I have the same criticism for him. He takes advantage of black families that are grieving. I don't like it. Represent everybody. I don't like that. But I have very little respect for this attorney because he'll take these types of cases. Oh, my clients, they can't get a job. Kyle Rittenhouse, his life will never be the same. Well, what about a black man that is assaulted by a police officer who's paralyzed, or whatever the case may be? I don't hear you taking cases like that. I have zero sympathy.
Just to push back a little bit, McMurtry is more of a First Amendment defamation guy. That's what he's specializing in. And what you're talking about is some civil rights, some civil rights actions. So, and I got to defend the attorneys here. Yeah, we take money on contingency. We're putting out all the risk on a contingency. We're paying for the entire lawsuit, and we take some big losses sometimes if the case isn't right.
Yeah.
And so I don't know all the details about what Ben Crump and his financial situation that
Benjamin Crumbs,
of who he's representing, but he's a well-respected plaintiff's attorney. And if a family has a problem with law enforcement, having him on the case makes their case a lot stronger.
Well, let me put it to you this way. Well said, but let me put it to you this way. I hope Kyle Rittenhouse's attorney, I hope he loses a lot of money on this case. I hope he loses everything.
I'm telling you, if a judge follows the law, unless he really finds some out of bounds things that were said by the media, like I said, if the judge follows the law, he has no case.
Yeah. Well, Kyle Rittenhouse, you're white supremacist sympathizer. You're welcome to sue me anytime, and then
there's-
I'll hire this guy right here to defend me.
And I'm going to tell you from personal experience, there's a lot of judges who sometimes don't follow the law in court. And that's why we have
Sadly.
appeal after appeal after appeal up at the U.S. Supreme Court, because all these judges are getting it wrong all along the way.
Don't make
and then sometimes the U.S. Supreme Court gets it wrong.
Don't